Boston Celtics with an amazing comeback to win in overtime. Jayson Tatum, amazing over the last 7 minutes of this game or so. And Jaylen Brown rebounding, helping the Celtics win. It's all right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Be ever ready. Recognize the city of champs. Boston, baby, we do what you can't. Locked on number 18, Tatum and Brown, J-team, step back. We gon' wet that and slay teams. Of course, the Celtics, who else could it be? Screaming like KG with the Larry O.B. Karalis above average, assessing the team status. Best daily pod, no cap salary matching. Clutch like Bird the DJ, Pete John on replay. Prime time, dapping up the truth on the sideline. Raining J's, how it started, raising banners, how we finished. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners. B.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day, and I got you covered every single day, Monday through Friday, plus bonus podcasts on the weekends when they play, like this Saturday against the Houston Rockets and Ime Udoka's return. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts. Open up your favorite podcasting app, click that subscribe button, hop onto the show, hop onto the bandwagon, the runaway train that is the Locked On Celtics podcast. Watch the show on YouTube, comment, get in there. Let me know what you think about the Celtics beating the Minnesota Timberwolves, my takes, all of that stuff. If you don't know me, I'm John Karalis. I used to play ball a long time ago. Now I cover the Celtics for Boston Sports Journal, and today I'm covering a 127-120 overtime win over Minnesota, a game that looked like they were heading for their first home loss of the season. Instead, they are now 18-0, their best home start, the best start in their home building ever, of all time, in all of Celtics history, storied Boston Celtics history. No team has started better in Boston than this year's Celtics team. So soak that up. It's not often that you get history like this. And the Celtics, whenever a team gives you good history like that, that's special. Soak it up. Savor that. Today's show is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA. Use the code LockedOnNBA, all lowercase, for a first deposit match of up to $100. Let's just start with the comeback. Later on, we'll talk about Jayson Tatum. I got to get to Jaylen Brown before that because I'm going outside the box. I'm thinking Jaylen Brown's play was just as important as Jayson Tatum's down the stretch, even though Tatum scored 20 points in 9 minutes or so. But Jaylen, I'm going to get to in the second segment. Let's just start with the comeback, which involves all of them. It involves everybody. Boston was... So they come out and not their best, right? And I'm thinking like Minnesota's going to come in here, and they landed earlier that day, and I'm thinking this is probably a good opportunity for the Celtics to come in, jump all over Minnesota, and blow them out. But to their credit, coming out of the back-to-back, landing and playing basketball that day without Mike Conley, without Rudy Gobert, they played pretty well. They played really well. And they got contributions all over the floor, not just Anthony Edwards. They got contributions from Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who turned into Steph Curry for a while. They got Kyle Anderson, who had 17 points and was just driving. I don't know how a guy nicknamed Slow-Mo can continue to get to the rim the way he does, but he does. And he was killing them for a while. Anthony Edwards did his thing for a while. Naz Reid did his thing for a while. Credit to the Minnesota Timberwolves. And Chris Finch actually said something before the game that I was like, it actually kind of makes a little bit of sense. If they had just had their normal travel day, they would have gotten to Boston at like 3:30 in the morning the night before. How much better is that really? At least you probably got like a normal amount of sleep. You wake up, you come to Boston, and you get there like 1 or 2 o'clock. You get there about 6 hours before the game. It's not great because in that pressurized cabin, I always talk about like you're stuck on a plane. You can't really move around. So you're kind of confined. The pressurized cabin can like mess with the inflammation of the joints. So it's not ideal either way, but still, had to get there and play, and maybe they got a little bit more sleep than they would have normally. So 6 and 1, half a dozen of the other. Not great on the back-to-back, but just bottom line, credit to the Timberwolves for coming in here, playing hard, not giving into the excuse, and looking like they were going to beat the Celtics. The Celtics were sluggish in the first half. They had a lead, but they almost shouldn't have had a lead. Third quarter came around. They were a little bit better, but they couldn't get any stops at all. And then in the fourth quarter, things kind of turned around a little bit. The Celtics, the third quarter, Minnesota shot 5 of 6 from 3, 11 of 21 from the field overall. They outscored the Celtics by 7. It was like a late run. It was kind of going back and forth, lead by 1, trail by 1, lead by 2, trail by 3. And then Minnesota goes on a run at the end of the third to give themselves the lead. The Celtics ended up going down 9. 4 minutes to play, they go down 9. And I thought, this is it. They just don't have it. They don't have the ability to get the stops. And all of a sudden, things started to change a little bit. They get they start hitting some shots. They start buckling down on defense. They start really defending well. The Celtics get a challenge that goes their way, and things start to all of a sudden hit. With a couple minutes to go, they get the challenge where it was out of bounds, and it seemed like it was going to be Minnesota ball. They have the challenge this time around, unlike the Indy game where they didn't have the challenge and Porzingis' foul shouldn't have stood. They have the challenge here. They get the ball back, and instead of Minnesota, so Boston has cut the lead down to 4. Then Nickeil Alexander-Walker hits another three-pointer. They go up 7. They have the ball for a second. They think they have the ball and a chance to go up 9, maybe up 10 with a couple minutes to go. And that would obviously change the entire dynamic of this game. Instead, the successful challenge, Boston goes on a 9-0 run, and all of a sudden they're up. And shout out to Derek White for, after having a horrible game, like he had just not played well at all offensively, had not done much, comes in, gets the offensive rebound off the only free throw that the Celtics missed the entire game. Tatum misses a free throw in the clutch, fourth quarter, misses a free throw, and they get the offensive rebound, swings around to Drew Holiday in the corner. He has stones, and he drills the shot. An amazing effort. And this is where the Celtics get a ton of credit. This is where the Celtics prove themselves to be a championship caliber team. This is why I keep saying, guys, they're gonna win the championship this year. This is like, as I'm as confident as in that statement as I have been in anything that I've said for this season. This Celtics team, these are the types of wins that championship teams win. You suck for most of the game. You really, Joe Mazzulla even said those words. We sucked. We sucked for a long time. They find a way. It stays close. They never go down double digits. They find a way. They finally make a run. Tatum wakes up. Jaylen starts playing some of the best defense I've seen him play, starts rebounding like a maniac, and all of a sudden, the 9-point lead becomes a 9-point deficit becomes a 17-point lead. They were down 9 with 4 minutes to play, and they outscore Minnesota 16-7 over the last 4 minutes, and then 16-9 in overtime. It's a 32-16 run where the Celtics flipped that lead. Now, 20 of those points, 20 of those 32 belong to Jayson Tatum. 16, so he alone outscored Minnesota over that 9-minute stretch by 4. That's dominant. But everybody had a little hand in it. Horford hit some big shots. Everybody had like a little something to do, a little bit of the dirty work. But Jayson Tatum was amazing. Jaylen Brown, I think, made the biggest difference. Jaylen Brown once again deserves a ton of the credit, as much credit as Jayson Tatum. By the way, they combined for 80 points, and I don't even care so much about the points when it comes to Jaylen Brown. Going to talk about that in just a second. Today's show is brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is daily fantasy sports made easy, made fun, because it's you against projections, not against me, not against experts, not against computer algorithms. It's you, and you pick points. Jayson Tatum, more or less, whatever it was that they set it at, more was the winner. Same thing for Jaylen Brown. More was the winner. And you can go ahead and pick. You do that 6 times, you can win 25 times your money. You don't have to win all 6 if you pick 6 to get some money back. So go check it out. You can play a combination. There's still football. There's hockey. You can combo leagues, pick multiple sports, multiple projections, more or less, and you can win. You can have some fun that way, crossing over to other sports. And you don't have to worry about an injury. They've got a reboot policy. So your entries stay in play. Even if one of your people gets hurt, if they're out in the first half and they don't come back in the second half, that player gets rebooted. Only PrizePicks has insurance for injuries. It's the only daily fantasy one that you can get that with. So go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA. If you're watching on YouTube, it's right there in the bottom of the screen. PrizePicks.com/LockedOnNBA. Use the code LockedOnNBA. Enter it all lowercase. You get a first deposit match up to $100. So you're automatically getting money right there. Deposit up to 100, you get up to 100 matched by PrizePicks at prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Go check out Locked On Sports Today, the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Forget about the contrived arguments, the fake fighting that you see everywhere else. Get real conversation, real insight, real debates if a debate breaks out on Locked On Sports Today. It's on all the time. So put it on, leave it on, enjoy yourself when you're listening to people talk about sports. So Jaylen Brown was spectacular in this game, as usual. The Jays did a bit of everything. Jaylen had 35 points on 9 of 16 shooting. So talk about efficient. They combined for 80 points on 42 shots combined. Jaylen took 16. Jayson took 26. They both hit better than 50%. Actually, Tatum hit 50% exactly. Jaylen 9 of 16. 4 of 7 from 3. 13 of 13 from the line. Tatum 13 of 14 from the line. It's funny. Side note, I, before the game, was asking Joe Mazzulla about the free throw shooting. Said, you guys were 20 of 29 against Indy. You've been kind of struggling from the free throw line. Well, what's going on? And he's like, yeah, I don't know. I don't bring it up. I don't talk about it. Free throws are the thing. Like, what can you talk about with free throws in the NBA? Guys either make them or they don't. What are you going to say? Guys, go practice more free throws. Like, these guys aren't practicing shooting all the time. So not much you can say, but here they are, 30 of 31. On the day I ask them about the free throw shooting, they go 30 of 31. So you're welcome, I guess. That's whatever it takes. Everybody's got to pitch in. So anyway, those guys were combined 26 of 27. So 4 of 4 for 2 of 2 for Derek White, 2 of 2 for Luke Cornett, and 30 of 31 overall. So Jaylen, though, 35 points, 11 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, a block, and just 2 turnovers. Plus 10, second only to Derek White, who had a really rough game, but was still plus 11. So that's still somehow Derek White manages to be a plus-minus god. Jaylen, I think, was amazing. I had to highlight him first, even though Tatum had the 45, and I'll talk about him next. But Jaylen with the rebounding, and I talked to Al Horford afterward because there was a rebound late in the game. It was like 30 some odd seconds left in the overtime. Boston is up 5. Minnesota has the ball, 45 seconds to go. And it's still 45 seconds to go in a 5-point lead is nothing. Inbound the ball, score, get a stop, come down, score. Now you're in business. Either it's 2-2-pointers and you play the free throw game and you still have time, or you get yourself a 3-pointer. They had been hitting 3-pointers. They shot 14 of 34 from 3, so 41%. Certainly there were guys that were hitting 3-pointers. Plenty of them were on the floor. So definitely not a done deal at that point. Karl Anthony Towns shoots the one-legged kind of Dirkish fadeaway, and Jaylen Brown you see him coming down the lane with Anthony Edwards. He's just kind of holding him off with it's actually the left, with the right arm, and then the ball goes up, and he just kind of tips it to himself. Really nice rebounding technique, actually, because if you're not able to go up and grab it, you can tip it over to yourself and then grab it to get it away from all the other hands and everything. Grabs it. They call a couple of timeouts. They end up, holding off Minnesota, obviously, and winning the game. But after that, they call the timeout. Al Horford, beeline to Jaylen Brown, taps him on the chest. That's a big rebound. That's how you rebound. Really very vocal, very clear. I could see it. I was watching his face as he was saying that. So I talked to Horford after the game, and he was like, yeah, man, those are winning plays. Everybody in this in the locker room is talking about, we need stops. We need to clear away these rebounds. And that's defense, right? Doc Rivers always talks about rebounding is defense. You could play the best 20 seconds of defense on the planet and force a miss. If you don't secure the rebound and they get the ball back, that is deflating, because now you're like, oh, God, I got to play more defense. I want to get the ball and run and go score. Scoring is the fun part. The defense is kind of like the toll you have to pay so you can get onto the road to go do the fun stuff. So the Celtics spent a lot of this game kind of unable to get the stops that they needed. They were scoring. They put up 127 points. They scored plenty. They couldn't get the stops for a while. Then they started getting the stops. This is how the lead, the game flips from down 9 to up 7. 9-0 run, because you start getting stops, and Jaylen is in the middle of it, getting these rebounds. And it's those little things. And the fact that Jaylen is in there making this happen, taking on the challenge of shutting down Anthony Edwards. Jaylen goes and checks Edwards with about 4 minutes to go or so, and Edwards is 0 of 5 the rest of the way. And as a turnover, a couple of turnovers, very timely, bad shots, bad isolation from Edwards. It seemed like he kind of got sucked into a mano-a-mano battle that he thought, hey, it's my time. I'm going to, and this is what a young player does. Jaylen, who's friends with him, they're both Atlanta guys. They were kind of talking the whole time, and maybe he baited Edwards into some of those shots, but Jaylen did a great defensive job in that stretch. That 9-minute stretch, Jaylen scored 6 points, mostly on free throws. But the defense that he played on Anthony Edwards was spectacular. And then getting in there for the rebounds. Horford told me, we're going to need a lot of that from him, because the way the Celtics play, he said, the way we play, there are cross matches all over the place. We get up and down the floor. And it's true. The Celtics, and Jaylen's one of the guys that wants to play fast. You get up and down the floor and you get cross matched, and Jaylen's going to find himself underneath the basket. Now, he's not a small dude, right? He's about 6'4" or so, 6'5". I forget what is officially listed at, but he's big, muscular guy. He's strong. He can hold his position. His biggest issue has always been more focus, more mental. It's never the strength. It's never that ability to go out there and get some rebounds. In fact, this is his 27th game with 11 or more rebounds over the course of his career, so he's no stranger to grabbing the rebounds. But the fact that he's in there doing that dirty work, especially while Tatum is cooking, the fact that Jaylen's like, you know what, go cook. I got this part. And he's not trying to match. One of Jaylen's biggest issues over the course of his career has been like, oh, Tatum's cooking? Well, here I come. It's my turn. And he tries to cook and he turns the ball over. How many times have we seen that? We didn't see it in this game. He was very content to go and play the defense and get the rebounds and do all that other stuff. Tatum did the bulk of the scoring. And Jaylen got his looks too, and he got to the free throw line. But his willingness to do that kind of stuff is why the Celtics were able to pull out another game, yet another game where we can easily say last year they would have lost this game. Jaylen's mentality, his focus, his desire to win and not have it to always have to be on his terms. I'm sure he would have liked to have scored more, but he did this. He did what the team needed. And you know what? I think he deserves to be rewarded for that. And the only way I can reward him for that is by putting him ahead of Tatum in the conversation. Because the all-NBA player who just signed the richest damn contract in the league, going out there and doing the rebounding, the dirty work, the defense, that's impressive. And that's what the Celtics need to be an elite championship team. They are an elite championship caliber team. So Jaylen gets top billing ahead of Jayson for me in this particular game because of all that. However, Jayson Tatum shares the marquee because Jayson Tatum was MVP-like Jayson Tatum down the stretch. Let's talk about that in just a second. Today's show is brought to you by Jase Medical. Jase Medical is here to help you stay protected. Protect yourself. We just went through a winter storm here in New England with snow and then followed by rain and followed by a lot of things where there are power outages and trees falling. And who knows if the supplies can get to where they need to in situations like that. You want to have yourself protected. According to the FDA, pharmacies are running out of antibiotics like amoxicillin, which is a very common antibiotic that people take for a variety of things. So don't find yourself in that helpless situation where you need something, you need some kind of antibiotic treatment. Jase has the Jase case, a pack of 5 different antibiotics that treat a long list of bacterial illnesses, including things like UTIs, respiratory infections, sinusitis, skin infections, among other things. This stuff can happen to any of us. You don't know when or where you're going to be stuck, when or where you're going to need this stuff. So visit jasemedical.com, complete your physician encounter. It will be reviewed by a board-certified physician. Your medications will be dispensed by a licensed pharmacy at a fraction of the regular cost. It's never been more important to be prepared than today. So go to jasemedical.com, use the offer code LOCKED ON. You're going to get $20 off your order. Jase Medical, Jase medical.com. And the offer code is LOCKED ON to get $20 off your order. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Go check out Locked On NBA. I host on Wednesdays with Jake Madison of Locked On Pelicans. Had a fun show yesterday. If you didn't listen to that, go check it out. If you want to listen to a different show, go ahead. There's plenty of great hosts all week long, rotating hosts. So go check it out wherever you got this podcast. So Jayson Tatum did Jayson Tatum things in this game and dominated. And so when the Celtics went on a 9-0 run, it was Tatum who was able to kind of take over. And not the best part about it is that he didn't settle for threes. And he said after the game, I didn't want to settle for threes because I was getting to the line quite a bit. He steps up and first of all gets to the rim. Then later on, another layup Then he hits the step back 3-pointer. Then he gets fouled on the steal, which was really stupid. Then he just continued to get to the rim and continued to get to the line and continued to find the mismatches. And after the game, Joe Mazzulla was talking about like when our spacing is right, then we can find our advantages, our 2-on-1s and our mismatch, the right matchup. And when the Celtics were not spaced out properly, and when they were unable to get stops, you come back and you're playing this 5-on-5. And NBA basketball, playing anybody 5-on-5 is going to be difficult. Playing the Minnesota Timberwolves and their defense, even without Gobert, even without Conley, that's a tough defensive team. They all buy into the defensive system. And in the second and third quarters, the Celtics were unable. It felt like they couldn't get to the rim. They almost were afraid to get to the rim. And they were getting shut down over and over and over again. And that they ended up settling for 3-pointers. And Joe said, like, look, settling sounds selfish, but it's not a selfish team. It's they couldn't find the advantages. They couldn't find, and by the time they like looked around, they're like, well, where's the advantage and all of that. The way that the Timberwolves were defending, they ended up just for a long stretch saying, all right, I got to make a play for myself. This is the only way we can do it. And that's when you end up settling for 3-pointers. So Tatum down the stretch with better spacing, with defense that gets you the stops, you can get out and run and force some cross matches, force some advantages. Tatum was able to get onto bigs, and he roasted Karl-Anthony Towns, and he roasted Naz Reid. And Naz Reid committed one of the dumbest fouls I've ever seen, almost at half court. For some reason, chasing Tatum all the way out to half court. It's almost like he was challenged by Tatum. But Tatum just did everything. Everything was right. Everything right for Tatum in the overtime. The dunk that he got in the early overtime was amazing. And then he gets the step back 3 with less than a minute to go, where he angrily mean mugs and blows it like the angriest kiss celebration you're ever going to see. That was just vintage Tatum, vintage MVP level Tatum. The beauty of what Tatum did and why I'm saying MVP level Tatum is he was not searching for his 3-point shot. He shot 6 of 11. You can get 11. Jayson Tatum can get 11 3-pointers in any way he wants in a game. When you do the other stuff first, when you start the attacking, when you start when you're moving the ball, when you let the 3-pointers come naturally and don't go out hunting them right away, when Tatum does that, that's when they really start to fall. And when the 3-pointer falls for Tatum, he becomes this guy. He becomes the unstoppable, like, who are you going to put on him? Are you going to put a small on him? Back him down, right? Tatum backs him down. You get a big on him. Karl-Anthony Towns had no chance. No chance. The drive, up fake, drew the foul on Towns on the baseline drive. That was, I mean, when I say no chance, it was like marionettes, puppet mastery for Tatum. So when he is playing like that, he can't be stopped. Now you combine Jaylen playing the way he's playing, and damn it, Jaylen's game was like worthy of MVP conversation. Like when he got to the line, the MVP chants were warranted. Like Jaylen had 35, 11, 3 assists, 2 steals, a block on 56% shooting, 57% from 3, and 100% 13 of 13 from the line. That is an MVP type of line. And Jayson just kind of outscores him, outdoes him with that big final kick. It's such a perfect combination with these two. Jaylen starts it off, Jayson finishes it. Sometimes it's the opposite, but that's a formula that works. If everybody's willing to do the other stuff, the other dirty work, and Tatum was out there defending as well. Tatum was out there doing his bit defending as well. These guys together, 80 points. That's the Tatum and Brown that we saw here, especially down the stretch, the fourth quarter, late fourth quarter overtime. That's the best duo in the NBA. That's a duo that when they're playing like that, they cannot be stopped. Now, I don't know how they're going to look against Milwaukee. They both played, like Jaylen played 43 minutes. Tatum played 42 minutes. They really wanted to get this win. Shout out to the fans. Everybody kind of referenced the fans and the crowd and how they played a role. And look, getting some juice off that home crowd is meaningful. That really is a legit thing. Now they go on the road back-to-back against Milwaukee. I don't know how they're going to look. Horford's definitely going to rest, but 40-plus minutes for Brown, Tatum, Derek White. Holiday played 40 minutes, just under 40 minutes. Ugh, that's going to be a tough one in Milwaukee. We'll see. I'll talk about it after the game, but hopefully they find a little bit of juice out there on the back-to-back. They've been pretty good on back-to-backs, and they're not a team that takes a lot of excuses. That there's an excuse right there for them to take. They haven't taken them. I don't think maybe more than once or twice maybe this year. They're an elite team. The Celtics are an elite team. So we'll see how they do in Milwaukee. It's going to be an interesting game. Again, I will be here post-game. Just like I'm here every post game, no matter when they play, I will be here every post game. So make sure you're subscribed. If you're new to the show, welcome aboard. Thank you so much for trying it out. If you're still here at this point, that means you're ready to subscribe if you haven't already. So please do so. If you're a regular listener, one of my everydayers who's here with me Monday through Friday, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. It does mean so much to me that you're choosing, you are making this choice. You can listen to, there's a ton of Celtics podcasts out there that are all pretty good. And the fact that you're choosing this one really, really is meaningful to me. I would love it now if you share the podcast, spread the word, tell everybody that they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast right here in the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.